Thank you guys for joining us today. As you can see, we have all of our lovely speakers on here already to quickly introduce you. I just want to make sure that you can hear everything they have to say. So this is Callie. I'm joining you guys from home in Denver, Colorado. We have some nice sunny skies here. If you can hear me okay, if you'll just answer in the chat window and let us know where you're joining us from, that would be awesome. And if you do need to activate that audio pin, then just feel free to do that. We have some instructions for you within that chat window as well. But if you go over to the audio, you can join from your computer or the phone. Without further ado, it looks like we're getting quite a few people on here, which is awesome. We have some from California, Florida, Washington, Los Angeles, Minnesota, or from Denver. Karen from Compendium in Seattle.
It would be in Brandwise.
Awesome.
Right?
Thank you guys so much for joining us today. Without further ado, I'm going to turn this over to Ari and have him just kind of kick everything off for us.
Okay, so hello everyone. Thanks for joining us again. You'll notice that this time different. We actually have 7 people on the call. So this call is the idea of my friend and colleague Randy Spoor. Randy came to, we were talking about different things, and Randy was we were having a conversation about the industry in general. And Randy asked me a question. Randy, what was your question?
The question was, to paraphrase, it was about rep agency and training reps to work their territories. As a multi-line sales manager, I talk to a lot of reps, and they've been telling me about the different things they're doing and asking me questions about how, as a vendor, we can help them do the new things that they're doing. And it just made me realize that this is such an important topic that I went to Ari and said, let's do a round table, and here we are. So I hope everyone enjoys and learns today, because the new normal is going to be the new normal forever.
All right, so thanks, Randy. Randy will be coming in with some questions as we go along. So I'll very quickly introduce. We have Sandy Womack, we have Betsy Harney, Jean Claire, Pam Belisle, and Steve Johnson, who are on the call with us today. And when we get to a question, our first question for each one of them, they'll have an opportunity to tell you about their experience. Suffice to say that we do have well over 100 years of experience here on this call, and Randy and I spent Wednesday having half-hour, 45-minute calls with all of these rep principals, learning so much about what they do. And what was fascinating was they all put their emphasis, what they felt was most important on different areas, which was exactly what we were looking for. So to kick things off, Sandy Womack, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, I've been in the industry total for about 37 years. I started in the early 80s in retail. I managed a very successful retail store in Southern California. And then I went to the dark side, our side. And part of that was because I really wanted to spend time with my family during the holidays. And as a retailer, you don't have that option. And for a long time, it was that way. But now the new normal, we're just as busy up until December 25th as everyone else. So it's definitely changed. I started in Denver, Colorado. And in 2015, I purchased 2 agencies.
Wait, what's the name of your group?
Oh, sorry, it's Nest, the New Era sales team.
Okay.
And we started in the Rockies in 1999. Mm-hmm. And in 2015, I bought 2 agencies, one out of Southern California called Net 30. Probably a lot of you know who they are. And then John King and Associates out of Arizona. And then 2 years ago, I purchased Minden. So I cover from Montana to Hawaii, 9 states total, minus Oregon and Washington. I have no desire, Betsy, to head that way. And I have 23 reps and about 6 full-time staff members.
And how many lines?
About 65, but not
Okay.
every area
Everywhere.
has
Sure.
all the lines.
Sure.
We have a showroom in Denver
Mhm.
and a showroom in Las Vegas as well.
Okay, so here's my question for you. We talked about a lot of things, and when we had our conversation, and what really struck me was how you actually teach a rep to work their territory, to learn their territory, and to work their territory. So kind of starting from, you know, bright young mind, bright middle-aged mind, bright older mind comes to you as a sales rep, and you're going to train them to learn their territory. How do you do that?
Well, one of the first things I do is I sit with them and we go over the geography and the cities and towns. And then I really don't talk about lines yet. I send them out to quote shop. And what I mean by that is I want them to go town to town and just visit the retailers, walk the shops, learn, talk to the people that work in the stores, observe the customers that are buying, and get an idea of each town that is in their geography, and you know, just kind of get a feel of what's out there. And then once they do that, once they call me, it could take a week, it could take 2 weeks, depending on the geography. Then they come back to me. Then we go over lines. And when we go over lines, I really can see light bulbs go off in their head because they've already seen these stores.
Sure.
And then they know, oh, this is perfect. And they have no prejudgments because I don't tell them ahead of time what stores carry what, you know, where they need to focus. That comes later. I just want them to familiarize themselves with the areas. So that's the first thing. Then when they come back, we discuss, okay, these are our lines, where do you see them fitting? And usually they get excited and they don't have any prejudgments. And they think about one of the stores that they loved the most when they were out shopping. That's what I call it. I hope they don't spend a lot of money, but then they get a really good idea of where they want things to go. So then once we do that, I assign them a mentor. And the mentor is a very seasoned rep within our organization. Doesn't have to be in the same state. It's usually someone that I think will fit their personality. And then that mentor works with them as they get their challenges, as they're out working, they contact that mentor. Once they've been out for a couple weeks, then that's when we sit down and do zoning, because I want them to go out and realize that they can't go, I'm going to talk about Colorado here. They can't go from Aurora, Colorado to Golden, Colorado, back to Aurora in the same day. They have to be smarter, but they're not going to learn that unless they do it. So I don't tell them at first how to do it. I want them to go do it how they think they should. Then when they come back, we go, how'd that work for you? And then we sit down and we work out the different geographies. So.
That's excellent. So when we were talking about this, the mentor part obviously jumped out at me. How long does that mentor relationship last, or does it, or is it something that kind of ends, or is it just become a friendship and a relationship? What tends to happen?
It really doesn't end. At first, there is a lot of communication. There's kind of the how-to. Of course, we do the Brandwise training. I didn't talk about that, but we do that. The mentor helps with that too. Like, how do I run a report? How do I do this? I went to this customer, they said this, what should I say to them? So at first there's a lot of that back and forth, and then it goes on, it's more, it lessens, but they do develop a really great friendship, and it builds team.
Yeah, another thing you mentioned that I thought was interesting was, you know, they go to the stores, they go shopping, they look at what's there, but they also, and they're going to learn your line package, but you also have them learn the competitor's line package, so they can understand what as they see move. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's very, very important when a rep is out on the road, and it's funny. I mean, with 23 reps, I have all different levels of this. But we'll pick up a new line, or it's a new rep and they're learning all new lines. They need to know who the competition is for that particular line, so that when they get an objection, they have an answer to that objection. So it's just as important to know the competitors as it is to know the lines that you represent.
Very cool. I think there's a little subtext there when you said that you like to let them figure it out themselves, that a little bit of failure and a little bit of frustration is actually a useful thing in your training process. So then they listen to you, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Excellent. That's excellent. Okay, well, I'm sure we're going to come back to you, but we're going to go from learning a territory. Now we're going to move to all the way to the other side of the country. Pam Belisle, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, everybody. Okay, so I am the rep principal of the Winters Group. We have reps from Maine to Pennsylvania. The Winters Group was started by Betsy Winters about 34 years ago, and I come from the other side. I come from the corporate retail side as a merchant for some large companies, doing product development and running businesses for companies back in the day like Casual Corner. And I left the corporate world for many reasons and started working for Betsy part-time. And then after a few years, I bought the company from Betsy. And then a few years later, bought another company, HIS Sales, which was New York and New Jersey. We have 13 reps. And we have an office staff, including a marketing person, a data manager, HR, all the things you need to run a company nowadays.
How many lines do you
have? Somewhere around 30. Again, not all lines in all territories.
Sure.
We try to get a line for all territories whenever we can, because we tend to do everything centrally, and so it helps to feed everything through our office. Everybody has the line, but sometimes we have to give and take, and it doesn't work out. New England, traditionally, you either have New England or you don't. It's sort of, people see it as one area.
So with this, I'm from New England, so I understand there's actually, contrary to popular belief, there's quite a diversity of retail realities in New England, New York, and New Jersey. So with that, this broad group of lines and reps and territories, the question for you, because I found this fascinating when we spoke, what is it that you, how is it that you teach your reps to actually plan a day or guide your reps? Like they wake up in the morning, what are they doing?
Sure. So of course, every day is different and every day of the year is different and COVID time is different. So nothing is universal. Everything is a percentage. But one of our strategies, especially with newer reps, is teaching them what we call the three-pronged approach. Look at your day, look at your week, look at your month, and come up with what you're going to focus on today or this week or this month. Is it going to be a store? Is it going to be a town/zip code? Or is it going to be a vendor? By doing that, it allows the rep to really focus. Everybody knows this job can be incredibly overwhelming. There's so much incoming all the time. And we tend to hire reps who come from the retail side. I tend to have an empathy for what goes on the retail selling floor. And so I think we have done really well hiring people who have a true understanding of what that retailer goes through during the day. Everything from opening the door to taking out the trash in the back end. And so with that being said, you have to be able to really manage all the incoming. And one of the things that happens with the new rep is you train them how to use the system, you train them how to use Play, you show them how to do a few reports, you go over the lines with them. In our case, we do go over their customers and the history and so on, and we do it over a 3 or 4 day period. But then once they're out on their own and they're working their territory, they're going to hit a wall. And so then it's time to sort of draw them back in and say, okay, let's look at your business over the next 60 days. What did you write last year during that time frame? How can we break that down? And what do you want to focus on? Is there a specific store that you want to sell more to? Is there a lot of fighting going on in the town because everybody wants the same line, whatever that happens to be? Or is there a particular town that's a thorn in your side? You don't have enough business there. One of our concepts that we constantly talk about is filling the voids. You've got 30 lines, you've got 120 zip codes, you've got 620 active accounts. How do you make sure that every single thing is plugged in? And in a perfect world, wouldn't that be a nice thing? But in our world, there's always opportunity. So for instance, an opportunity right now when the world is upside down is essential businesses. So we have a lot of lines that work really well in hardware stores and pharmacies and greengrocers and all those kinds of places. And so now's the time to try to fill that void and maybe move into those stores where in the past you were focusing more on general gift. The other thing that we try to do is use technology, because it's our friend, obviously, but don't let it get in the way of developing that one-on-one and that FaceTime with the other person. So don't let anything ever get in the way of the rhythm of the sale, and try to maintain that relationship or grow that relationship with your client.
Excellent. I want to shift back to Sandy for a moment, because one of the and this is Pam, from what when you're talking about in terms of focusing on this or this. Pam, do you have any? Because Sandy has a few. Do you have any service lines?
What's a service line?
Like cards or something where you have to pull tags where there's, you're going in. Do I have the right terminology? Would you call it a service line?
Greeting cards.
Yeah, like greeting cards or those.
We don't currently have any card lines. I mean, we sell a lot of publishing, and
Sure.
a lot of that is repeat business. So, everybody always needs their Mad Libs.
Sure.
So I guess in that regard, yes.
Sure. It's what I found interesting was that in the, and we're going to have some follow-up questions at the end. It's going to kind of for everybody in terms of there's a big question I'm going to ask everyone that you're not ready for. But that question about the service line, Sandy, in terms of learning the territory, while they're doing this, there's also appointments that they simply have to go to. I mean, there's always appointments, but there's also that schedule.
Right.
So that combining that with what Pam does in terms of having somebody focus on one thing while you're doing it, of course we're answering customers, of course we're dealing with problems, of course we're putting out fires, but at the same time, all of these things have to keep going.
Right.
Which brings us very neatly to my question for Betsy, because I already know the answer to the question. So Betsy, first, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, everyone. I have been a rep for over 34 years. I was a rep in California for 22 years before I moved to Seattle, started all over again from ground zero, and started a business called Sugar Bee Sales. That was 12 years ago. It was probably the hardest, most humbling thing I've ever done in my life. I didn't know one customer. I had 7 really bad lines, and somehow I had to build this territory. So now we have over 40 lines, just enough on one page. I don't like a 2-page lines list. 8 reps, counting myself. I'm still a working rep. We do Oregon, Washington, Alaska, Idaho, and Montana, which are, I think, really big states out there. And we have a showroom in Seattle Mart, as well as a satellite showroom in Las Vegas.
Excellent. So question for you, because the answer was, well, everyone's answer was fascinating, but what do you feel, what is your reps main responsibility? What's their job?
I've always thought that a sales rep is a problem solver and a peacemaker. And I think that's what we do pretty much day in and day out. We're constantly problem solving, whether it's a mistake a vendor did or a mistake that we did, or a box came crushed, or we're tracking, we're constantly nonstop with emails, phone calls, just problem solving. And then we're also peacemakers. So along with that problem solving, we somehow have to make peace with all of it as well. Whether it's constantly building a relationship with our customers, building relationships with our customer service people that will also help us problem solve and peacemake at the same time. So any new rep that joins our organization pretty much has to CC me on every email they send out. for at least 6 months, so I can sort of see how they're wording their requests, how they're solving their problems. And I think it's really helpful to have your rep group all sort of work the same. We all send out the same emails with the same subject matter when we're asking for requests or issues to our vendors. It's easy for our vendors to answer our emails. We have hopefully all the questions so that we don't have to email back and forth all day long just to get, you know, one package picked up that was shipped incorrectly. So we try to be as efficient as we can. It also helps our organization, it helps the vendor, and it helps the customer. We have a 6-12-24 policy that if a customer contacts us with a problem, we're in touch with them within 6 hours. So we don't leave them hanging. Even if we don't have an answer, we always reply back or call back and say, hey, we're working on it, just so that they're not hanging out there thinking we're not going to solve their problem for them. Within 12 hours, we get in touch with the vendor, and by 24 hours, the problem is solved. So we really work hard on making sure that we're efficient and that we take care of all the problems. I think that's really important. I think that builds trust in your customer base, and I think it also builds trust with your vendor.
Well, first of all, hallelujah to all of that, because it's there, and I'm excited to ask you the follow-up question, because I think that it's going to be exciting. Yeah, but I'm going to hit all of you with it at the same time, so everyone can stay on their toes. I thought that the 6-12-24 rule was really outstanding, and that 6-month period where, you know, they know that you're watching and seeing every single email that they're sending, so that training is happening by doing. And it's long enough that, you know, at 6 months in a day, they probably feel like you're there, even if they're not CCing you, they feel the presence. Well,
I've been called the helicopter principal. You know, I'm like the helicopter mom. So
helicopter principal, excellent. Okay, so we're gonna move now to the Midwest, where we're gonna hang out for a little while. Steve Johnson. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. Well, we're now officially drive-through country. We used to be called flyover country. So I'm here in Minnesota, and we cover the middle states. I think of the Dallas territory, everything north of there. We often talk to our friends in Dallas and say, just shoot up I-35, 1,200 miles, and we'll go to heaven. So, anyways, we cover 8 states, 6 sales reps, and 4 support people. I've been a rep for 31 years, and I kind of feel like I'm the rookie of the group. And anyways, but my father was a rep for 40 years, so I'm a second generation guy, and our company is Johnson Waters Marketing, and I often say the Johnson is my dad, who retired 12 years ago, and unfortunately passed a couple of years ago. And his business partner, Denny Waters, was out of Kansas City, and he passed away 5 years ago. So now it's me. And anyways, but I have always had an active territory for well over 20 years. I had a very, very big territory, and even until the end of last year, had a very big territory, as well as managing a group, and then had an opportunity to hire a seasoned veteran, and was able to territory way back just in time for COVID to hit.
And that actually brings us, so Steve's in a I believe fairly unique situation. Steve's most junior salesperson has 16 years experience as a sales rep. Okay. Now he brought someone on 2 years ago, but they had, 87 years of experience. So the question here, right, which is a great one, is, well, if Steve has reps that have been there for 16 years, and their sales reps have, they understand their territory, they're there. Let's say that some of them might say, Steve, I've been doing this for 25 years. I don't really have much that I need to learn because what are you going to train me on? Or they'll be eager, maybe technology. But so I asked Steve, so the question to Steve is, if training it never ends, and you have this incredibly experienced group, what ongoing training do you provide to this incredibly seasoned group?
Yep. Well, my answer when I was thinking about this, Ari, it's really truly what I call an organic process. And, we often talk about, we view our customer relationships as our reps are in partnership with the customers, and they operate as a consultant. And so it's really, really important that they have a beat on things. And of course, I learn far more from my sales reps than I do out on my own territory. It's constant dynamic. And we've had something very interesting happen in the last few months in that we had a very good start to the year. And then when COVID hit, of course, we all stopped. It pointed out to me recently that our reps just never stopped. So this process where they stopped for 30 or 60 or 75 days was almost, number one, it was a shock to the system. And my good friend out in California, Bonnie Glushan, who's with Sales Producers, made a suggestion to me that you guys need to do these Zoom calls because you guys are going to kill one another or kill somebody if these caged animals don't have an opportunity to talk to somebody. So we had these highly dynamic Zoom calls through the period that we were all stuck. And we brainstormed, we strategized, we talked about, communicating with our customer bases and demonstrating empathy and encouragement and paying close attention, particularly on social media, to what our super successful customers were doing. And so that whole process got us going into a whole new wave of communication. Our people drive a gazillion miles. Many of them drive 40,000 miles a year. And so, they're just on the go, and just like, Brandwise was a game changer when we stopped handwriting orders and started scanning orders and so forth. I could put on a little Brandwise commercial for you, but that was a major, pivotal moment for our group, but I guess it was about 18 years ago, just like I feel like we've experienced this year. So we've gone into hyperdrive on communication. So we've got everything going on from, private group, Facebook groups, we've got Zoom calls, we've got group texts, we've got live.
You're talking about communication between your reps.
Yeah, communication between the reps and then and with the customers and how we're working. And I guess the overall theme is that we've had to, the big shift is the really adjusting to how our customers want to work. And
right.
It is soup to nuts these days. Some people don't want to meet with anybody face to face. Some people, they continue and they want to sit with you for 3 hours like they always have. And
sure.
And then if you don't stay for lunch, you're in trouble with it.
Well, what I found interesting when we were talking, I found all of it, but the part that, but you brought your reps together and they started talking to each other because, like you said, they're always on the road, right? They're on the road 40,000 miles a year, 40,000 miles, each year. They're in, they're 500 miles apart and they didn't really work with each other, but you brought them together in the Zoom call. And then you described to me that now this exchange of ideas, give me some examples of how that's happening between the reps.
Well, you described it when we were discussing it as almost like an expanding our training capacity because suddenly they're training one another. And the one thing everybody really realizes is that reps listen to other reps far more than they ever do a market director. I'm sorry, any sales managers that are on the line, but they're in that mix too. But they listen to their peers far more than they do particularly a market director. So facilitating all that communication, we've got everything going on from they see something interesting in the store, they're snapping a picture, sending it through group text. So there's a lot of group text going on. And just 2 days ago, one rep called the other rep and said, "Hey, when are you going to be in Southern Iowa next?" And she said, "Next week." And good, we're meeting for lunch. And they met for lunch, and there was a whole dynamic that took place with that communication. So we have a lot more sharing going on.
Yep.
There's custom opportunity or so, for example, with a vendor, and they send something off, and then it applies to their specific customer. They're sharing it with everybody. So there's just a dramatic, increase in the amount of communication
sure.
amongst them. And then what I would add, which I've heard some very good things on this call today, but one of the things that we do as a group is we, not only are we constantly sending out bestseller lists and updating formats that can be forwarded to a customer, but every month at the beginning of the month, I try to give them a roadmap for the list and bullet points of what are the top things for example, here in October that are the #1 appointment getters. What's going to create the urgency to generate an appointment with the customer? Because we often feel like we need to be justified when we ask a customer for an appointment. Usually, when you've got a long-standing relationship, saying, hey, I'm going to be in the area next week, is Tuesday afternoon or Thursday morning better for you, is good enough. But often we need to, know exactly what are the things that need to be taken care of, because quite often when we're working pre-booking program for one of our vendors or an early buy program, we set the appointment based on that. And quite often, the amount of business that you rate with the whole portfolio of lines is much greater than what you wrote with that one vendor that secured the appointment. So that's there's just a dramatically an increased amount of communication going on.
Excellent. Steve made sure to talk about the part that he was doing, right, which is important, putting together the reasons to overcome a no, because otherwise we might have all just thought that reps were training each other and, Steve was fishing. So, of course.
It's just all helpful, right? Most of them know all those things, but it never hurts to be reminded. So
exactly, which is excellent. And that brings us now with all of this, and Randy, we're gonna go to you in a minute after we go to Gene to get some questions. But Gene, so what we have here, so we have Sandy is teaching the reps how to run the territory. Let's say we put together a dream team. So Sandy is teaching the reps how to learn their territory, and Pam is teaching them how to plan their day, and Betsy is teaching them how to do incredible customer support and service, so that the rep is the go-to, and Steve is giving them the answers of how to overcome and helping them train each other. With all of that going on, my question for you first, Gene, I'll ask you to introduce yourself, and then I'll put my question. So who are you, Gene?
Hi, I'm Jean Claire, and I am the owner of And Sales. It's a 10-year-old company, and as a multi-line company in the Midwest. We have Ohio, Indiana, Michigan, Wisconsin, Illinois, North and South Dakota, and Minnesota. We really have, we've got the Great Lakes and in the Midwest, and there are 12 of us that work with the company. We have people who are taking care of our website and marketing and all on the road. I've been in this industry for a very long time, and why I decided to go and create this rep group, I have no idea, but I the passion for the industry, and I do love working with this venture.
Excellent. So with these, here we have our dream team we put together, we make one big group, and all of that's happening. And so then my question to you is, with all of this happening, how do you ensure consistency across your sales reps and how they work with their lines, with their territories, with their customers? How do you, put that in, all the different pieces that are happening? Sandy's training, Betsy's training, Pam's training, Steve's training, everyone's training. How do you maintain consistency across, in terms of if your product, right, is this service, or as Pam said, Pam has a great quote that says, where is it? Here it is. It says, Pam says, "We're here to help you buy. We're here to help our customers buy, not to sell them anything." So, in order to maintain that, how do you maintain consistency?
Well, I think that one of the things that we learned, because there is so much juggling that's going on with the rep and the relationship between the retailer and the vendor. I mean, you're a consultant on all ends, and the partnership is very important. And we felt that in order to bring this all together, to have some consistency, is that we created our working manual of what we refer to as a pathway to sales success. And so this helps us all because we can refer back to it, but it also helps us when we're bringing on a new team member, because especially in our industry, we need to have the consistency, but this sort of gives them a guideline of what to do. So we created steps that they can go to as far as what they need to do. Similar, like Sandy said, go shop. That's our first number one thing to do. It says right page 1. This is what we want you to do, is we want you to go shop. We want you to learn the other lines, see what's out there. We have expectations on a daily and weekly basis for our reps as to contacting stores, contacting their vendors, getting a hold of Brandwise, We have links to all the education that they need to have. We've created our own YouTubes and links so that they always have a referral, how to navigate our Dropbox, all of those things. Because I think that even though we're all independent, we need to be able to communicate or have that go-to list. And then also, we've always had an Uber conference call, a weekly basis, but because of this pandemic and the closures, we did also, like Steve did, go to Zoom, like most of us have done, is go to Zoom and have our, what we refer to as coffee in the morning with JC, because she needs her coffee. And and that's great participation. And I think what we saw was how frightened we all were to be on screen, and who would keep it blocked and who would say, I can't do this, I'm away, and that. And it taught us that we have to push that envelope one more time, and we took it into the social media as well, so that we do our Facebook Live, our private page, and then our virtual show. Instead of working with relying on the vendor to make presentations, we rely on the sales rep. And the sales rep, that was an opportunity for training, but also was an opportunity for them to get comfortable to do a meeting and have it and refer. And then we're training each other at the same time.
Yeah, I think it's what just so that it's clear, Jean, you assign each rep to a line. That rep learns that line, and then they actually do the sale on Zoom to a real customer in front of all the other reps.
Wow.
We did it on Facebook Live.
Yeah, Facebook Live. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so that's we were talking about it, in terms of consistency. It was, you identify one rep to be the ambassador, the whatever, the expert on that one line, and then they're actually selling, as opposed to role playing, which can be effective and sometimes fun. It's more about in this case, it's the actual experience, of them seeing that customer and the interactions, the objections, the questions, which I thought really provides a huge amount of consistency. Because then there's also obviously a teaching moment there, afterwards, for that person to say, here's something I think you could have done, and then you can, share that with the group. Randy, are you there? Are you with us?
I'm here.
Okay.
Not on video, because there's only room for our 5 guests and Ari, but I kind of have to apologize. I got so enthralled with listening, I forgot to write down a bunch of questions.
Okay.
But
well, if they come to you in the next few minutes, you just jump in. So
well,
Randy,
I do have a couple of comments,
okay.
Of course. One thing that Sandy said in our call the other day that I think is so incredibly important, and probably the whole reason why we're having this round table, is training never ends. And it is so right and so important. And I loved what Steve said about consultative selling, and that the reps network with each other. And I was talking to a rep a couple of weeks ago who said their group and they've broken it up into different geographical areas, but their group gets together once a week or every other week without any management people, and the reps just talk, and they feel that they are free to talk about absolutely anything, knowing it's kept between them. And she said that the learning process in that is absolutely incredible. Betsy, as a vendor, your 6-12-24 rule is something that I think all vendors need to pay attention to, and certainly in Ari's and my involvement in the Gift Sales Manager Association, we're going to take that back to them. So thank you for that.
Well, I don't know if we've
Pam.
ever divulged that, but it is a policy here. I'm
Well,
not sure they know that that's our policy, but yeah, it works. Let me tell you,
Yeah,
it really
yeah.
does work.
Yeah. And Betsy, when we spoke, no, I'm sorry, Pam, when we spoke the other day, you mentioned the importance of historical data. And I was hoping you could give a couple of minutes to expand on how that works for you and how you utilize it.
Sure. So I think we all know that, there's good reporting through Brandwise, but again, it can be overwhelming. How do you look at your sales? How do you look at your business? And again, you're going to look at your business differently at different times of the year for different things. One of the things that we try to do is look forward by looking backward. So what I would say to a rep right now is, hey, we need to gather as many dollars as we can in the next 6 weeks. It's a little bit of a frenzy out there in the Northeast right now where stores are realizing, oh my God, Christmas is coming and we don't have any stock, and we haven't bought anything and our inventory is stale. And we still have segments that are closed, but then we have segments that are opening, such as museum shops or hospital gift shops, and they've had, they have dust on the stuffed animals because they've been sitting there for 6 months and no one has touched it. So one of the things that we do is we teach our reps and work with our reps on analyzing the business by looking at a moment in time. So I would say right now to any rep or to all of our reps, run a report that shows what you did through 11/15 last year, from 10/1 to 11/15, those 6 weeks. And then look at that in those 3 ways, by town, by store, and by vendor. And then that's your goal. That is your goal, whether it's COVID time or not COVID time, that's your goal. Go out and make that business happen. Now, this store may be out of business, and this store doesn't want to buy the line anymore, and we don't rep this line anymore, and there's a million things that go on that don't make that a clean thing. But it gives you a starting point again. And it gives you something to go back to at the end of the week / month to say, okay, this is what I still need to do, and this is what I need help on. We have in-house marketing who does all of our e-blasting, and we do a lot of things that we send out from our office that go out to all of our clients, or to all of the customers in that particular channel. And so by doing that, then the rep can come back and say, I'm really struggling with this thing, and we can help them by developing some marketing for them to help them get that sales. But instead of just looking at your business year to date or looking at your business, on a broader scale, by looking at these snapshots in time, it gives you a workable goal.
Yep. So I'd like to add something quickly to that, Pam. I think that's fantastic. That's really fantastic. We've had several discussions in the past with our reps about maintaining a call list, so that when you're out on the road and something unexpected happens and you have a pocket of time that you didn't expect to see, or we've all had no shows, we've all had a variety of different things happen, and suddenly you've got this hour that's available to you. And during that hour, you shouldn't be figuring out who to call next. You should have an ongoing, maintained call list. It's always fertile with that next list of people of who to call, so that when you have those pockets of time, you just pick up that phone, and boy, you have something bad happen to you, like a no-show, or somebody's out ill or something like that, and you hop on that phone and you set up appointments, and you've got that momentum. You keep that momentum going. It's just that much easier, as a rep, as you get beat down in different ways, just to keep that momentum rolling, and that positivity just feeds on one another. So that's what what you said kind of prompted. So very good.
I think that is so very true, and it's important to pick up that phone. And now too, a phone call, just thinking about you, a text message, that is really extremely important. Because every time we can just touch them, that they know that there's somebody else with them, it just helps us connect together again.
And Steve, to go with what you just said, one of my reps spoke on the last Brandwise webinar last week about the 360 mapping. And she was in Wyoming, and she had a situation where, I don't know if it was a no-show or I don't know exactly what it was, but she used it as an opportunity to click on that mapping program. And for her, it was a game changer. Wyoming has less than 500,000 people total in the whole state. So a rep typically thinks she knows everything, but she clicked on this and found like 3 new people she didn't know existed. So, you know, she didn't want to lose that momentum. And now Brandwise has another tool for us, not doing an advertisement for Brandwise.
You can say nice things about us. That's okay.
She loved it, and she couldn't say more about it. So I agree. That's very important.
We have some great questions coming in, and so I want to get some of these questions, but in the meantime, I'm going to give you all just a couple of minutes to think about this one piece, because then we're going to go around the room. You can choose which it is, but either the thing you're most excited about over the next couple of months, or the thing you're most concerned about. Now, obviously, we're all concerned, you know, in general about what's going to happen, and I will say that I appreciate all of you for coming on and sharing your secret sauce. There's a kind of an understanding right now amongst a lot of people that everyone needs to help everyone be better, so that we can all help the retailers do better. They can all have a strong fourth quarter. So setting that aside, either the thing you're most excited about, because in some ways there's been some really important positive things that have come out of forcing everyone to work in a different way. There's been some good, but either what you're most excited about or what you're most concerned about. So that'll be in like the last couple of minutes of the webinar, but right now I want to get to some questions. We've got a question from Lisa Bach, my dear friend from Chronicle. Actually, it's 7 questions. But here's what I'll put out to the group. What are sales reps organizations doing differently? Right now in this era of retail, how are reps going to shop when so many stores are semi-closed? How are reps utilizing social media, B2B, virtual sales calls, virtual shows, utilizing Brandwise to create easy reporting? Would love to hear more about how things are changing or have changed. So is there anyone who would like to kind of pick up that piece? Okay, Sandy, you raised your hand first. Go ahead.
I would like to say that immediately when COVID shut down, we gathered a committee, and there were 3 reps, 2 staff members, and myself, about what we're going to do, how we're going to go forward. Everything's changing. So immediately for 6 weeks, we planned an In the Know show. And we challenged all our vendors to create videos. And many of them had never thought of this ever before. We got some of the best videos from vendors who were very nervous. I don't know how to do that. Just take a video, just be authentic, just be you. Show us your company, introduce the customer service team that retailers and reps and principals talk to every day that we've never seen their face. So we created this huge, and we looked at it as an opportunity to grow. You know, social media is not going to go away, and we have to embrace it. So, you know, we looked to our stores who had private Facebook pages or even just Facebook pages selling curbside. We had reps make videos when they would get new line samples. We did it every Wednesday night happy hour, not the coffee thing. We did a happy hour. So we all had a glass of wine or something in our hands and
open the day with Jean and end the day with Sandy. That's
right.
So I thought it was very fun. And we're still doing it ongoingly. Every Wednesday night, we're having a happy hour, and we post at least 3 to 4 times a day.
So there probably is going to be, is some of that apply to everyone? Is there some of that, maybe show of hands? We've got a question that's come in now from 2 different people, basically the same question from Melanie Abjean and from Linda Colson. They both said, which is the question you want to hear, what can we do to help? They're both vendors, and they've said, what you're doing, you know, I'm so pleased that there are vendors, there are suppliers here to see, you know, everything that's happening and what's needed. So if we can get so Pam, what can vendors do to help?
So one of the things that we're finding now, as thank goodness we are getting a little bit busier, is that a lot of the manufacturers, because they were in the same boat as us, they were closed down too. They had laid people off, or maybe not have as many people in their warehouses. And so in some cases, these larger companies or mid-sized companies have 1 or 2 people. And it's becoming extremely frustrating for us because we're trying to get as many orders processed as possible in a very short period of time. And I understand, I understand all the reasoning. But a big part of my job these last few weeks has been, 1, trying to keep the reps calm and not stop selling a line because they're frustrated, and 2, get the manufacturers to understand, look, people, we've got 6 weeks, let's go, chop, chop, do what you have to do to get goods out the door. And I think the other thing, which I know is a process, and it is also because of COVID, is the inventories are so low, and it is late. It's October, people. We shouldn't be selling Santa Clauses right now. We should be getting reorders and thinking about spring 2021, but that's not reality. We say all the time in the Winters Group office, it's an Instagram world and everybody wants everything tomorrow. And so the manufacturers are tasked with a huge problem. And how do they keep enough inventory in their places to be able to fill the orders that are now coming in, and at the same time be at 0 when they've got spring showing? So
I also think that yes, go ahead.
Can I add something to that? I just want to say we also need content, beautiful content, meaning photographs, videos, the product being used, anything that helps us. We are doing advertising for our vendors.
Yes, that's true.
And so we need good content.
You have to remember that we are their marketing department in many, many ways. And the more that we have that we can, help our retailers and our vendors, because it's that 3-way partnership, that, that communication. And you're right, Sandy, glamour shots, how to use is so very important. And especially since we are doing so much on social media for them, as our retailers are doing it as well. And it is important to have that update on inventory on a regular basis. If it's out of stock, give us other options. Don't let the reps be selling something that's not coming in. And if you can't get it out the door, let us know.
Yeah, and I'll put one little Brandwise plug in there. Transit has a quantity on hand field, which means that you can load this in, and that data is going to be visible to all your reps and their play systems. So this is a key piece. We pushed this through back when we thought the biggest issue was going to be inventory. Remember way back when we thought the biggest issue was going to be getting, it's an issue, but before we realized everything else that was happening. But that is there. Betsy, you were going to say something.
Oh, I just wanted to say that I really felt that the vendors that kept in communication with us on the even early COVID and rounding out the bend here, I think are the ones that we've really done better with. I think that that's really important, that when they're, and I'm not saying a vendor that's in our face, but just, the more content, as Sandy was talking about, we get, the more we Zoom with them, the more they, just help us out. And let us know what's in and what's out, and send us invoices so we can see that it's shipped, and send us tracking. We always want our tracking, because that's the first thing the customer asks is, when did the order ship and when is it coming?
And I'll throw in another little plug. Invoice Exchange is a tool that isn't used enough across Brandwise. It actually enables you to provide invoice data. A couple more that have come in here in the field here. So Julia Higgins from Corksicle.
Before you get off topic with this, since you guys were just talking about content, we've had a few obviously that are recognizing more and more of these sales are obviously going online. Obviously, each of you host your online site and everything through Reach. Is there something specific that vendors can be doing for you right now that will help you kind of populate those Reach sites so that those are available for retailers to shop 24/7 whenever they want?
Well, everything that we do has that, button to push here to place an order. Every social media thing we do has that. Is that what you're talking about, Callie?
Yeah, and something specifically, like, is there different things that you're doing with your reps right now to either kind of guide more of those sales online, obviously, when needed? And is there anything right now that's missing off of your sites from vendors that they can help to provide? Obviously, you guys kind of mentioned content and everything, but is there any pushes that you guys are doing right now? Steve, I know we've kind of had a conversation around this as well, so if you want to speak to it.
Well, I would say the number one thing missing for us are images. It's just shocking how many of our suppliers are not able to provide images. Many have really improved in this regard. I mean, we're really aggressively using tear sheets that we're producing off of Vision for iPad, and a great Brandwise product. But to not have the images available is really key. And then keeping up with data. You know, sometimes you know, there's changes, or there's a price change, or you know, the data. You know, this time of year when the inventory levels are changing so quickly, you know, keeping up with that data is really critical, so that the reps are not spending time out there selling something that doesn't exist. So.
To the point about data and quantity on hand, so Julia Higgins from Corksicle, she put in a comment here that they've gotten into sending the new files through Brandwise every Tuesday morning with their quantity on hand. So they've put it into part of their standard procedure, which might be for all the agencies that are on this call, and there are a lot of them. Perhaps start asking for that, you know, specifically. You know, give it a parameter, right? Instead of saying we need this information, say we'd like to get that updated weekly, because you know that's obviously better. We have there's another great comment that came through from Robin Kurt. Manufacturers that are transparent are the most valued and the first out of the bag. If we can get a realistic picture of stock and ship times, then they can manage expectations. Customer rely on us to be good consultants, and we're the face of the company, so empower us, which I think is great. So the question that I asked before, because we're getting to the end of our hour, and I will tell you that we have 97% of the people who are on the call already here. So this is excellent retention. We're keeping our audience there, which is so fantastic. You're all rock stars. So here's the question, and whether it's what you're most excited about or what you're most concerned about over the next couple of months, with whatever specificity you want to have, or if it's a general concern. But Steve, I will start with you.
Yeah, no, I would say what I'm most excited about is what's happening in retail. We often talk about how our stores don't have it. Those that have a really robust inventory and big, inspiring boutique style displays, I mean, they are rocking it right now. Many of them can't stay in stock because in their community, there's less of those big mass retailers around and so forth, and they're finding all kinds of holes in product marketplace where there's a lot of demand. And so in the stores is, you know, it's just very, very good. And we're seeing a lot of people that they're short-staffed at retail. So the reps getting in there and helping to walk the store and see what they're out of is super helpful for retailers. So it's just been terrific. The number of stories I'm hearing of reps going into a store or a customer says, "Oh, I don't have time to see you, and I really don't want to see you right now." And they say, "Well, I'm going to be in the area, so I'm going to walk through anyways." Well, they find 4 out of the 5 lines, basically that product is gone, and they're running into retailer reorders left and right, and able to quickly on that.
That's exciting. Betsy.
Unmute here. I really think the technology right now is driving a lot of excitement. I'm talking about Zooming. We do live Zooms in our showroom, which has been extremely effective. We have a lot of territory and more mountains than people, as I say. So the Zooming has really been effective for us. And just a lot of social media has really picked up for us as well. We do box openings in the showroom and a lot of live in the showroom, which is fun to do. We have one rep, thank you, Allison, who does it all, and she's amazing. So that's been really fun for us to do. And just thank God we had put reach into our company about 3.5 years ago, because for those sales reps out there or principals or groups that do not use a portal or have Brandwise reach, I'm not quite sure where you're going to be in a little while, because I think that once we all train our customers to go onto the portal and do their orders, whether it's after a presentation, after we're on the road with them, I think that's the key right now. That's how a lot of people want to buy. They want to do it late at night. They want to do it early in the morning. And as long as we can still communicate with them, whether it be social media, Zooming, whatever we can do to stay in front of them, I really believe that that's a great tool for all of us to have.
Excellent. Jean.
I'm just very excited for, what's another challenge? I think there's one every day, but certainly 2020 has given us one every hour. I feel that we have to pay attention to what the retailers are doing in a lot of ways. Because of COVID and the shutdowns and that, those retailers helped us and our vendors step up, because the retailers who immediately went to social media or having curbside or events in their stores, Wine Wednesdays and all that, helped us say, hey, and especially our reps, this is where we're at. And this is where you have to jump on board. The hardest thing is for change. And one of the things that 2020 did was make us change. We've got every opportunity out here, and it's in all different layers. So I think that's exciting.
Sandy.
Wow. I'm excited too about everything that's changing. The new kind of customers we're finding out about, all the Facebook Live customers that are buying lots and lots and lots. I mean, they're really helping carry us and some of my reps through. Embracing all the new. It's fun to me. I'm like Jeannie. I like the opportunity and the challenges and new ways to create. And you're right, change is really hard, and a lot of the reps have struggled with knowing how to share the Facebook possibilities, Instagram possibilities with customers. We just gave some of our customers and told the reps, go to your local colleges. Every town either has a community college or a university that needs internships. And there's actually a college major called e-commerce. So I think a lot of the stores, if they're older buyers, could reach out to a college, even a high school, and find a young person who would come and do their live events for them. And, they would get college credit for doing it too. So I think that's a win-win. So that's been fun.
Bringing new people in the industry. And Pam.
Well, anyone who knows me knows that I thrive in chaos. So this has been a really great year for me. So yes, change is hard, but if you're not growing, you're dying. So we've chosen the former rather than the latter. So I guess the thing I'm most excited about is the fact that my reps have adopted new technology and that the stores are responding to that. Yes, we are using Reach. Yes, the stores are starting to place orders on Reach. And what's happening with those orders is those stores are maybe buying a line that the rep maybe forgot to show or was in the bottom of the bag. And so that's always kind of fun to see that order come through. And then the challenge now for all of us, I think, is to turn that one order that the store is buying online at 11 o'clock at night into the five orders that we would be selling if we were face to face. And that's what we're working on now, is how we take that to the next level. How do we use that one order that comes in on Reach as if it's sort of like a soft lead and really build on that and get the rest of the sales. So I think we all have a lot to do.
So I want to close, first of all, by thanking Randy Spohr again for coming up with this idea, because anyone who's been on this call, and by the way, we've never had this kind of retention through a whole call before, well past the time, but this has been extraordinary. What we see here is, the data, that article, the column that Brandwise put into Gift and Deck, that's in the issue right now, the short version, that talks about the importance of sales reps and the difference that they make in terms of a good order. This is why, because all of this ingenuity that's happening, just like the retailers, the sales reps are finding a way to get it done. So taking all of the training methods that that you've all been using for 20 or 30 years, and now using technology and the latest and necessity to get the same thing done, but get it done in new ways, which is what's so exciting. And I think everyone here has said that. So thank you, Sandy. Thank you, Jeannie. Thank you, Pam. Thank you, Betsy. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Callie. And again, thank you, Randy Spoor from Center Stage for coming up with this great idea. And we'll definitely get this out there. Share the recording here. There's a ton to learn. And I wish everybody a great, successful fourth quarter. And listen to what all these people just said. Okay. Thanks so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Idea to like be a college student.